Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. My name is Mary Mays. I'm a meteorologist with Weather and Radar, and I'm going to let some of you folks give you a little bit more time to get in here. And also, I'm going to double check to make sure that the volume on this live stream is working. And I hope that you guys are having a really nice day, a safe day. If you're in the Midwest, things are a little bit dicey today. Hi everyone. And there we go. I like to double check that volume level because there have been a few times where I have been caught where it was not working. So what I want to focus on is what's happening with this system right here. And if you go to our social media, we did post actually very recently. Let's see if I can pull it up actually, because this has been, multiple days of severe weather, which is not unusual for us across the plains. But, if you go to the Weather and Radar Facebook page, and we have, updates on social media the whole day through, you can see that this was actually hail accumulation in Yuma, Colorado yesterday. And that's called hail fog right there. And this was just massive hail. It looks like snow on the ground. But it was just a storm that looked like this here on the weather radar, and it was intense. And I wanted to show you this because this storm system right here likely going to continue to produce hail. And that threat extends into tomorrow as well. So we're starting to see these storms really get going. We do have a live stream that's going to be up from our storm chasers as well. So if you have a moment right now, go ahead and click like on this video. That would help us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already, and download the Weather and Radar app, because that's where you're going to get access to the latest information. We have a live blog going. We have the latest forecast. We're keeping you up to date on what's happening, because this is a pretty big system to be watching for. So you take a closer look here right around Omaha. These storms have been rotating, and so far I haven't heard of any tornado touchdowns yet, but it's definitely going to be a possibility. So if you're in Omaha, these storms are really starting to fire up and they're heading your way. And if you get a little closer here too, you can see more details, about what streets they're heading to, what cities are in the path of these storms. Bennington here, you need to be on alert. And these storms, you can see, are really producing a lot of lightning in addition to rotation and wind. So really it's this storm right here and then this secondary one up here. And you can see those lightning bolts kind of clustering where we have that rotation and that severe threat. So please be cautious right here in Nebraska, Omaha especially. And these are going to be pushing into Iowa, which is where we have a risk today, a moderate risk. So before we take a look at where these storms are heading, I do want to take a look at the risk level for today, because we actually have a moderate risk in effect, which is relatively rare. So what we're seeing today is, storms firing up across the Midwest, and you can see this is happening. This is more of an afternoon, evening event. So this is firing off right on time. It's 1:04 Central, 2:04 Eastern, and you're starting to see these storms getting going in a big way. And this moderate risk is right here, kind of just highlighting Des Moines, La Crosse, so Wisconsin into this, portions of Illinois, and you can see the storms have already started forming out in Omaha, so they're moving east into Iowa and into, northern Missouri, into western Illinois, western Wisconsin. They're moving there now, and that's where we have, and it looks like, oh no, I hope I'm not disconnected onto OBS. Looks like it's reconnecting. Sometimes I get that alert and it turns out I'm still connected, so hopefully I am. Okay, so it says reconnection successful. If I did lose you guys, hopefully we're right back. I was just talking about the location of this moderate risk, and you can see the bullseye right over Des Moines, into La Crosse, Peoria, into Hannibal. And this is just east of Omaha, which is where the storms are firing up. Omaha, Springfield, even Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay, you're all under an enhanced risk, which is a level 3 out of 5. So you've got a good chance for damaging winds, tornadoes as well, and large hail. And notice the slight risk extends all the way down into the heart of Texas. Dallas included in that, Fort Worth, A lot of folks are going to see the chance for strong storms today. And the threats are going to be tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail. You've got all these different types of threats. Notice there's a 15% risk here in red. That's a 15% chance that if you're in Des Moines, there's going to be a 15% chance there's a tornado within 25 miles of you. So that means it's a possibility, a very real possibility. And you see this yellow area, that's a 10% risk that there could be a tornado within 25 miles of you. And when you see these hatched marks here, that means that the tornadoes could be strong. So we could see long-lived, powerful EF2 plus tornadoes. And then you have a tornado risk that extends from Oklahoma City into Springfield, but it's a lower risk, for folks like Green Bay, even Chicago. You still got a 5% chance there's going to be a tornado within 25 miles of Chicago. Whether it's a strong one or not doesn't really matter, because even in EF0, EF1, that's a pain to deal with, and those can be deadly too. Of course, any tornado, it doesn't matter how it looks, how big it is. You got to seek shelter. You got to go to the lowest level of your home or business, wherever you're at, workplace, lowest level, put as many walls in between you and the outside as possible. Basements are best. Storm shelters are actually even better. The best option, but not every place has a storm shelter. So, basements, storm shelters, that's really where you want to be. But if you don't have one of those, which a lot of folks don't, you want to put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So what you want to do is make sure that you go into an interior hallway or bathroom. And bathrooms are great too, because they have plumbing, and that does tend to hold the wall steady. Now, the other thing we're going to be watching for is, of course, really damaging winds. And that's going to be probably the thing you see most with these storms is, winds that are strong enough to knock down trees, cause some roof damage. Once again, even if you're just under a severe thunderstorm warning and it's not a tornado warning, you still want to make sure you're not hanging out next to a window. These storms are going to be serious business. If your home has a big tree right next to a room, don't stay in that room. And I've said that a lot because unfortunately that's how a lot of people lose their lives, is trees falling on them during storms. So keep that in mind. Also, if you're driving, and there's a storm on the way, check weather radar. And if there's a storm on your path to where you're getting, just hang out for a bit. Don't drive into it, because it can be incredibly dangerous. Now, the other thing we're going to be looking for is very large hail. And this threat actually extends from, the Dallas area here, the heart of Texas, all the way up into the Midwest. And we can see some massive hailstones. That's why I showed you what we had yesterday in Yuma, Colorado, because that was big hail that just piled up. That's going to be we're going to have the threat of that again today. So that can be a big deal. Your car can even get stuck in hail if enough of it falls. We've seen that happen. It can make for really dangerous driving conditions, not only because you get, your windshield impacted, but also because the hail is on the ground and it can cause hail fog, which lowers visibility, but also things can get really slippery. If you have covered parking, if you got a garage or, access to a carport, go ahead and pull your car under. That's going to be your best bet. So let's take a look at the timing of these storms. So you can see as we head into, the afternoon hours, this is around 3 o'clock this afternoon, these storms are just pushing east into, Iowa, and then continuing into Wisconsin, Chicago. By this point in the afternoon and into the early evening, these storms are going to be more of a linear threat. So I think at this point it's going to be mainly gusty winds and hail. But you can see these heading into Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay late tonight. So I would say the threat around Des Moines, Cedar Rapids, up through La Crosse is going to be more into the afternoon hours. So I would say 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. But then as we get more into dinner time and later on, it's going to be more of an issue for Chicago, Milwaukee, and Green Bay. And these storms continue to move to the east. The system's going to be pretty impactful. And then tomorrow, we do it again. We're going to continue to see that line pushing through, and then more storms start to form as we head into the afternoon and evening, kind of sparking off there. And that leads me to tomorrow's threat. So I keep mentioning the threat levels. Let's take a look at tomorrow. So tomorrow we have an enhanced risk from, the central and northern Texas, including Dallas, Fort Worth. that extends up through Little Rock into Springfield. And then you have a slight risk that extends from, Waco, from Abilene all the way into the Northeast. We're getting this action in Western New York, Buffalo, into Rochester. And then you're also seeing this through the Ohio Valley, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Louisville. Even spots like Bowling Green and Nashville might get a little bit of severe weather tomorrow. And the main threat is going to be winds and hail. The tornado threat is there, especially from, central Texas up through into, the Little Rock area into Missouri. But it's a 5% chance you could see a tornado within 25 miles of your location. And then you get a pretty small tornado threat in spots like Cleveland. They're right off the Great Lakes. But the tornado threat is there, but it's not going to necessarily be as big of a threat as it is today. We're already seeing tornado warnings popping up. Now, you take a look right now at our wind probabilities. Straight line winds, especially in, Texas up through Arkansas as well. You've got a better chance, 30% chance you're going to see those, damaging wind gusts within 25 miles of your location. And then Texas up through portions of Arkansas also have that large hail threat. So that's also going to continue to be an issue. But today our main concern is just, tornadoes really. So here's what you need to do. Make sure you have multiple ways of getting warnings and make sure you're preparing for storms that are heading your way. And you can see that here on our weather radar. We're really starting to see this action about to move into the Omaha area. It's crossing the state line from Nebraska into Iowa. So we're going to see these storms continuing to move east into spots like Des Moines. So here is, what you'll see if you type in Des Moines on the weather radar app. And this is how you know it's heading your way. So look at this, a severe thunderstorm alert. We could see intense rain, large hail, damaging winds. And if there's a tornado threat, you're going to start to see that here as well. You can also see what, the wind is doing, 40-mile-per-hour gust right now. And you can see what's going to happen over the next, 20, 30 minutes with the weather radar. You just click that little button right here. Or actually over the next 90 minutes, excuse me. But 45-mile-per-hour wind gusts, that's incredible. And you see the timing of the thunderstorms in a lot of different ways. You can see it, day part. You can see it by clicking that is seeing the storms on the weather radar. The other thing you can see is the severe warnings. You get the option to get push notifications. So you'll want to click yes. You'll want to make sure that you have those alerts turned on. It's best to have multiple ways to get alerts. And one way you can do it is by downloading the Weather and Radar app and hitting yes and turning on those notifications. So we're going to continue to keep you updated on the storm threat. My dog's in here right now. Hey, how are you? Looks like you've been digging outside again. Anyway, we're just hot here, just north of Nashville where I'm at. So that's our threat level for today. That's what we're seeing on Weather Radar. Do me a big favor. Download the Weather and Radar app, especially if you're in the Midwest. Turn on those alerts. Make sure your phone is on and loud enough that you hear those, push alerts, that you get them. And just make sure you stick with us because we're going to have a live storm chaser feed. That's going to be up on our live blog in just a few minutes. And we will have that live blog going. You just click on weatherandradar.com or you go to the app and it's right there for you. So we've got you covered today. We want to make sure that you stay safe and that you're aware. And even if you're just watching from somewhere else and you want to know what's happening, this is the best way to do it. So thank you guys so much for sticking with me and for, listening to me talk about the weather. I really want to get that information out. And despite the fact that we've had so many tornado outbreaks this year, especially across the plains up into the Midwest. Thankfully, this year has been relatively low in terms of fatalities. The goal is to have zero, and we want to keep that going by providing you with those safety tools you need. So please download the Weather and Radar app, turn on those push notifications, those weather alerts, and keep it here. We're going to keep you updated. Please stay safe out there, and thank you so much for joining me.